Where do DCI designers get their show concepts? What is their inspiration? Typically, creatives have a portfolio of meaningful topics and images to draw from. Personal life events, social and political issues, art and literature, philosophy and beliefs, and creative imagination.
Unlike the professional arts, the marching arts have a strange set of prerequisites and traditions which narrow both the content and discussion of drum corps shows. Content must be age-appropriate. The repertoire must fit the brass idiom. Spoken words are out of favor for drum corps audiences, and the audiences are generally intellectually uncurious. Musicians like to play music, not talk about the meaning behind it. And finally, the biggest constraint: many drum corps designers have no professional performing arts production development experience. So for these reasons, and many others, DCI designers are coy about revealing their real inspiration for their show concepts.
So designers revealed maybe only part of their inspiration story. Sometimes designers hide a political commentary in the show theme and don't discuss it much, and leave the heavy lifting to Lindsay Vento on the Big Loud live broadcast to explain the show theme, like Bluecoat's Garden of Love, which railed against religion's interfering in sexual expression. Or Santa Clara Vanguard's Babylon, which claimed to be about language differences in the biblical story of Babel, but was an obvious metaphor for the border crisis, with references to children's wristbands, cages, and immigrants crawling under fences, and families being separated. None of these design points were covered by Santa Clara in public discussion. In many interviews, directors twist themselves in knots trying to avoid the truth about their show themes. Another example. In 2025, Scott Chandler gave the subject and theme of Variations on a Gathering, suggesting that humanity needs to gather together. But the inspiration was left unspoken. Gee, I wonder what recent gatherings could he be referring to? Could it be the millions of people in the street protesting Cheeto Mussolini? Of course, he didn't say that, but it's clear what the inspiration is. These recent gatherings were some of the largest protests in history, and inviting everyone to the table is one of the messages of inclusion and unity of purpose that prompted the gatherings in the first place.
The Blue Devils are always upfront about their subjects and themes, but sometimes they only hint at the inspiration for the show. Sometimes you have to guess at the inspiration. Here's another example. Beatty's 2018 show, Dreams and Nighthawks. This show is about a woman featured in the Edward Hopper painting Nighthawks. But she's not just arm candy. She's not just in the background.
Go. Who needs your things like you were a dime a dozen? Go on, get out every day.
In this interpretation, she is the center of the narrative and she flips the script. But why? What was the show's inspiration? It just so happened to be the year that the cadets were on trial for sexual assault, where women were coming forward in a show of strength to voice their concerns about incidents in the Corps' past. The inspiration for the show is obvious, but not spoken.
Those are examples of an unspoken inspiration, where you have to put the clues together to figure it out. Now, some designers boldly announce their inspiration for their show, but the inspiration is thoughtless, low stakes, or shallow, or even hiding the real motivation underneath. Here are some examples. Number 1, the 2009 Blue Knights show coordinator Piero Lugo Allen said the inspiration for their show was a loofah sponge he observed in his shower, and how the loofah sponge expanded. Come on, clearly he is poking fun at legitimate production design and meaning. No million-dollar performing arts show of substance would announce an inspiration so trivial. The show was expanded to include visual themes of breaking free of sexual constraints and inhibitions. That is the smarter inspiration that Piero didn't want to talk about. It had nothing to do with a sponge in the first place. Number 2. In 2025, the Boston Crusaders artistic director, Keith Potter, announced that the inspiration for his show was an onomatopoeia, boom, used in a basketball game. He wanted a title that was explosive. Then he worked backward to add the unfortunate theme of nuclear explosion paranoia and nuclear reactions set in the 1950s. That's where the show concept went south. The show playfully toyed with nuclear atoms and nuclear explosion sounds, and had a strangely comedic tone, forgetting that nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki resulted in 200,000 deaths a mere 6 years earlier. The show included Japanese children's voices counting, and grim nuclear blast countdowns. They tried to add energy and playfulness, but the tone became uneven because of the subject matter underneath.
Worst of all, the show's final performance was on the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Nagasaki. So the artistic director's inspiration was a one-syllable explosive word, but the development of the concept was the problem. Luckily, the nuclear bomb theme was heavily modified over the season. Many of the bomb explosion sound effects were deleted from the show, along with deleting the spelling of the word boom, and the Big Loud live broadcast featured an announcement by the core director of a replacement subject of a sonic boom instead of a nuclear boom. At least the core appeared to awaken to a sense of artistic responsibility.
Boston's boom brings up some finer points for designers. An inspiration point is one thing, but how the show concept is developed around the inspiration is quite another. Typically in professional performing arts, there are a series of checks and balances to ensure that a flawed concept is modified before it is greenlit. Boston, take note.
Now, sometimes there's no inspiration given. Zilch, nada, nothing. Sometimes a core will hide their inspiration if it reveals a naughty intention. This brings up our final examples. Star of Indiana's Medea, 1993, never revealed why they chose Medea, the angry symphony about a woman who slits the throats of her own children to spite her husband. Why so angry? Then they quit DCI a week after finals. Oh, that's why. The show music was a metaphor for Star's anger at DCI. The anniversary podcast featuring all of the proud designers of the show didn't make a single mention of the behind-the-scenes reason for choosing the angry material. And they made damn sure there was no mention of how Star of Indiana quit so abruptly after the show. Come on, guys. The inspiration for the show is conspicuously absent. It's obvious when nobody wants to talk about it.
So, sometimes the real inspiration behind the show concept is covered up with a bullshit explanation. In Blue Knight's 2025 show Drip, the brown-colored uniforms had a pipe running down the backsides of the performers, starting at their butts. That's comedic, scatological, and really, really dark. In fact, the brown color of the uniforms made the ensemble look like bowel movements floating among sewage pipes.
Nonsense, you say. But wait, what was the secondary color to go with brown? Yellow. Brown and yellow? With a background stage set of a sewer pipe? That's atrocious.
Clearly intentional by the artistic director. No experienced artistic director could justify a stage picture like this. On the mid-season Marching Arts podcast, the designers refused to say the word rust. They called the pipes tubes. They called the color fireside orange. And they said orange is an important color to Denver sports teams. Come on. Something's up. Where's the artistic director? Why did he send these designers to do his dirty work? It gets worse. In the early season, the core said Drip had a subject matter of following a drop of water from pipe to the ocean. Then, later in a Marching Arts podcast interview, the designers said it was about an annoying drip that grows into a huge personal problem. Wait, which is it? It begs the question, what was the inspiration? Why focus on the bathos of the minutiae of a drop of water? The show seemed to be a send-up of traditional show concepts of substance. The bathos of a drop of water and the dark comedic choice of dressing the ensemble like sewage pipes seemed to display dark comedic intent by the artistic director, but no one wanted to talk about it. Stanbury's photos promoting the rusty pipe uniforms deceptively omitted any photo of the sewage pipe coming down from the butt on the back of the pants, a questionable blue humor element.
Now, a drop of water can be a legitimate metaphor for a lot of things mentioned in philosophy, religion, literature, and poetry, but none of these references were mentioned on or off the field as a reason for the show concept. A show about dealing with an unnamed personal problem has a lack of a depth of concept. Fireside orange, please.
Which brings up the next point about inspiration. Even if you are mocking drum corps shows of substance and want to do a naughty comedic take, and dress the core as sewage pipes as a radical insult, you still have to add depth, comedy or not. Why not own up to the concept? Why not publicly state that you wanted to satirize the activity by employing an absurd topic? Why not publicly self-identify? Why not boldly state that you're mocking other shows that have weightier themes? Why not crack open a book on the subject of satire? Why not make the rest of the show match the satirical tone of the costumes? Even if your show is meant as an insult, you must still develop the show's premise and be able to articulate it. Now, here's another bonus example of an artistic director trying to hide the real inspiration of their show. The Paramount Winter Guard show Shout featured a final flag that was a tattered American flag design, meant to illustrate a point about the battered state of American government and politics. The artistic director and Guard members refused to acknowledge that the flag was the American flag. Look at it. The blue corner box, the stars, the stripes. They refused to talk about it. The designer had made a design decision that he simply did not have the balls to explain or support in public. That's not an authentic artist. That's not professional. It raises the question about whether designers try to pull a fast one on their marching members and audiences because they're so uncurious and dumbed down on show subjects and themes. It's a sad state of affairs when your marching members have no idea of the symbolism of the flag they're waving.
So much for recent examples of inspiration gone wrong. Now let's review the rules for legitimate themes in drum corps shows, the same as any professional performing arts production.
University-level production development should include the following. 1. A clear subject and theme, well-researched. 2. A logical progression of action that the audience can follow. And 3. A higher purpose, even if it's kooky, anti-establishment, abstract, or subconsciously derived. The theme should be articulable and contextualized in a larger body of thought. As Scott Chandler of the Blue Devils says, it's not just the what, but rather what about it? Why is it important? Why now? And how are our perceptions changed as a result of this production?
If your show inspiration was truthfully something off-color or inappropriate and can give the wrong impression, why not edit it? Don't tell audiences that you slipped and fell on dog shit, for example, and found it funny, and that was your show inspiration. Why not instead say you saw a Commedia dell'arte show and wanted to explore physical comedy through the centuries? That sounds smarter and worthy of an investment of $6,000 for a drum corps season. It gives the impression that you, as the artistic director, are intellectually curious and that you explore thematic concepts and you are connected to people who create performing arts concepts for a living. So, be careful of revealing your real inspiration. Rehearse your explanation. Make it smart. Give the show's subject depth and substance. Commit to developing your premise. Give it emotional weight and universal heft. Be honest about the high-stakes subject and theme underneath, not just a loofah sponge explanation. Better yet, widen your scope of personal topics and awareness of the world. Read a book. Go see theater. See a film. Visit a museum exhibition. Go see the touring production of Barney live. When you begin to explore deeper concepts in your life, you won't have to admit embarrassing inspirations like, they say boom when they make a three-point shot, or I like the number 10 in Shostakovich's 10th Symphony. Instead, let your marchers know that you have an academic curiosity and that you are exploring the wonder of the human experience, that you read literature, that you explore philosophy and metaphysics and science and politics and romance. Let people know that you have a wider range of inspirational experiences than a faucet dripping. The truth is, you're the paid artistic director. You are guiding their artistic discovery.
After all, depth and meaning make a show worth remembering and worth performing. That's the professional standard.